Hey everyone, I hope everyone's doing well today. Um, I just wanted to share some of my testimony with you guys to maybe give you some hope, to maybe encourage you. If you're feeling broken or lost, that I can just give you some life that Jesus gave me, and that I know Jesus can give you if you trust in Him. That's how it works. I learned the hard way. I shouldn't have learned the hard way, but I have. But it's okay. David learned the hard way. Abraham, look at Abraham, what he did, you know, but he was faithful and he trusted God. And so, look what God did in their lives. So I'll share a little bit about what God did in my life, through the hard and through the good. And I just want you guys to have life and to see something else through all my brokenness throughout the years. And I'm only 24 years old. I'm about to be 24 years old. And so, I'm still young, but God has done so much in my life, and it's just incredible of what He's done and what He's still doing. And it's just so cool. But let's see. I'm from North Carolina, a very small town. My name's Josh Cecero, and I have two wonderful parents, a father and a mother. Um, they have loved me and has done everything for me as a kid. Grew up not so rich, actually even pretty poor. Growing up paycheck to paycheck, just living by that and living in a trailer park. Um, but you could just imagine how that kind of background that I had growing up. But we always had what we needed at when we needed it. So I look back and I'm like, oh man, you could just tell that God was like just looking out. But at that time, of course, um, I really didn't know. But my parents believe in God, um, but they don't have a relationship. They might have been saved when they were younger. I'm pretty sure they were. Still not 100%, but um, they believe in God, and they never went to church, but they always pushed me to go to church. So growing up, I never understood that. It always killed me to go to church without my parents. It sucked. Um, but so my mom has worked on a college campus ever since I was real young. Since I was sorry, before actually I was born. I forgot about that. So she's been there for a while. So um, she met um, this woman from working there that goes to my church still today. Um, and my mom has talked to her and saying that I have a young child, and I think I was like 4 years old this time when this was happening, um, and saying like I have a kid, and that she lives in the trailer park, that we live in a trailer park, etc. And was telling her, and so the church at the time was actually doing like trailer park ministry kind of thing, so like park ministry stuff. And so they would come out to the trailer parks, and they'd come out and they would just have fun with us and have recreational time, and they'd have studying the Bible time and just worship time and snack time, all that stuff. Just have fun and just bring Jesus to a place where that seems not so good. But so, anyways, that's how I met my church that I go to today. So, which is really cool. God really looked out for me. So, anyways, I was going. They started coming out and doing all that stuff. I ended up getting saved about 4, maybe 5 years old. They had like a park thing and like a parkapalooza, and so I went. And at this point, like I knew enough to know that I wanted God and to know what He had for me, because I knew it was good for me, and I knew that there was so much life and joy in that. Um, so I ended up being saved and just falling. I would say falling in love with the Lord, but just falling in love with with that, because at a young age it's kind of hard to grasp that, but I knew it was good, and so that's what I went for. So Um, I went to church. At the time, it was called Covenant Christian Church, and um, I went all through growing up, all up till now, and the church is called Live Forgiven Church now. Just changed it a few years ago, which is cool. God is good. And but anyways, I grew up going to church. They'd come pick me up every Sunday, and it was really awesome that they would just come pick me up in their cars. Like two people would come and pick me up, and I'd go to church. And so at this young age, began to dance and to express this joy that God's given me, and it's just really awesome. But as I got older, things got more tough. My mom actually was an alcoholic. She drank all the time. It got worse progressively as I got older. That I remember anyway. Um, my dad didn't do anything, but he smoked cigarettes and stuff. Um, but nothing like, I think he drank when I was younger, but he didn't drink to get drunk or anything. He just did occasionally. But eventually, my mom, she got the alcohol got a hold of her, and it almost ruined our lives. Um, I thought it ruined my life at that age, that young age. Um, but it didn't. God is good and He's gracious and He's mercy. You know. But so growing up, my parents would fight all the time, and they would just it's just I lived in a broken home. I had a broken relationship with my parents. Um, so I didn't have a relationship with the Lord. I knew of the Lord. I knew that the things were good, but I didn't know what a relationship looked like. I didn't know what all that looked like, what God looked like, what His heart. But um, so I was in a very broken home, and it was constant fighting all the time. School was hard for me because I would have to come home and have to deal with my parents fighting or my mom being drunk. Um, as I got older, like high school, middle school, it was like every day. I'd come home and my mom would already be drinking and almost all the way, almost drunk already. And it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And so that was really hard for me. So everything that I wanted to do, everything all I remembered wanting to do was just run away, either physically or emotionally. Um, but I did not want to be at home, and so I would do everything that I could to get away. Drugs, alcohol myself. Um, I started. I'm pretty sure I was like 14 when I started. I was like when I started like doing drugs and stuff. Started getting into that. Started hanging with the wrong crowd. Um, I was in like I don't know 7th grade or so when I started hanging out with high schoolers that lived near me at this time. They strongly encouraged me to do drugs and to um, party, just do and drink and whatever. And um, it wasn't good. Of course, in middle school you have girlfriends, but I just I did it every one that I could, pretty much. From 6th, 7th, and 8th, I can't count of how many girlfriends that I had, or how many times I redated somebody, just because I don't know, whatever, to have a girlfriend. I don't know. But anyways, that was an interesting time in my life, as you can probably imagine. But at this time in middle school, I was starting to get introduced to marijuana and to pills. Um, I started to do Adderall and just whatever they gave me, but Adderall was something that I really like. I did all the time. Just something that I would not. something that always kept me up, kept me alert, kept me feeling like I was in a different world, but I was still here. And so, um, in middle school, when about it might have been high school this time. Nope, it wasn't. It was still middle school. Um, I would go to my friend's house, um, like a couple miles away, just go spend the night for the weekend or whatever, and we would do pills together. And we were really good friends at this time, and um, I didn't. He didn't bring it on me. I didn't bring it on him. We just something that we did. Um, but we started doing pills together. Started doing Adderall together, and his neighbor freely supplied us pills. Um, just gave it to us, and I guess this person got it for free, or got it prescribed, and that, yeah. So we go over there, and they would give it, and this person would give us these pills and cigarettes and whatever. And one night, I was staying night at my friend's house, and she offered for me to stay the night over there. And this woman's much older, and so, like, I don't know, 30s, and I am only 13, 14 years old. And she invites me over and to stay the night, and I call my parents and I ask, and I put my parents in a very awkward position because they had no idea what I was asking or anything, and they're like, yeah, you can. I mean, I guess you could stay over there. I think because um, she wanted both of us to stay, and so at that point, I think my parents both thought that both of us were going to stay over there, and so his mom said no for him to stay, and so I was going to stay, and um, he leaves to go do something, to talk to his parents or whatever, and come back, and then she wouldn't let me out of the house. She wouldn't let me leave. At this point, I was already like, no, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not okay with this. And so I'm like screaming, like, let me out of the house. And she wouldn't let me out. And finally, her mom and stuff got woken up. This is like 11, 12 o'clock at night, probably 10. I don't know what time it was, but it was later at night. And came out to the living room and held her back so I could leave. That's like my kidnapping story. And so I finally got out, and I have it. I don't remember doing Adderall since then. I was never going to do Adderall ever again. Um, Sadly, I did pills after that. Once I got older, I was like, I'm never doing pills again, and hang out with the wrong crowd. So that happened, and that was crazy, and just I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, doing the wrong things, not following God's will. But I knew God had better things for me, I know. And side note, I want to be a rapper. I know, crazy. A white kid from a small town, want to be a rapper. Woohoo, It's every white boy's dream, probably. But that's what I wanted to be. And I would write rhymes with my friends, and I would always write raps, and that's what I did. I'd get high and I'd write rhymes all the time. And so at least we had I had something to cling to that wasn't drugs or alcohol or, whatever. But that's what I did. I wrote my feelings on paper, and that's how I expressed them. Um, even though it still wasn't very godly, but that's what I did. And so it's gonna be important later. That's why I'm telling you for a side note. Moving to high school, um, my freshman year, I met this girl. My first actual real relationship that I've been in. We dated, I don't know, over a year or so, and so I love this girl. 8 months into this relationship, I still have my virginity at this time, and so I'm still wanting to wait till marriage. And at least that's one good thing about having somewhat of a Christian background. At least I knew that sex was wrong outside of marriage. But at this time in my life, It's gonna happen. You can just imagine you're a freshman in high school and you're with this girl that you love, you fall in love with, the first girl that you ever fall in love with, your first love, etc. And 8 months in, we had sex, and I was like, I don't know, 15, 16. I might have been actually a sophomore when I lost my virginity, but I was a freshman when we started dating, and so I was like maybe 15, 16 when I lost my virginity. Um, that changed my life, sadly, for the worst. Because I would have had sex with her and then ask for forgiveness. So like I had someone, I knew God and stuff. So like I had a little bit of something, but still no relationship. And so that was terrible, very depressing time of my life, probably the most depressing time of my life. She was verbally abusive, and she was just emotionally abusive. Um, and so that I would still cling to that because it was the only thing that I knew that could make me feel some kind of good. So my sophomore year or so, I ended up breaking up with her, and I ended up getting to another relationship um, that was way better. So I thought it was better somewhat than my past relationship, but it was still broken and not and very unhealthy. But so my junior year, I met this. I think we knew each other, or started to get to know each other. Anyway, me and this girl became best friends. So we were like really, really good friends, and we flirted all the time and stuff. But that's just as far as it got. That's just what happened. But ended up talking to be my girl, sorry, talking to her into being my girlfriend. And she really didn't want to do it because she didn't want to ruin a relationship, all that stuff. And of course, me, I'm like, no, it's gonna be fine. Nothing's gonna change if we break up. Blah blah blah. I was wrong, of course. Um, but I hope for the best because it wasn't that past relationship. So anything that wasn't that, it's all for. I didn't care. So I did this relationship, dated her over a year as well. Um, Fell in love with her. Went to church with her at least. My first girlfriend there, we went to church occasionally. Actually, she would go to church with me every Sunday, but there was nothing changed there. Anyway, so in this relationship, I wanted to wait to have sex, of course, because I thought I learned my lesson. So I wanted to wait for marriage or until I was ready. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But she ends up talking to me, having sex with her after a year. So once a year hit, we had sex. So before we had sex, she ends up getting pregnant. Don't know how. We were fooling around. Not gonna go into that, of course. But she ends up getting pregnant. And so at this time, I'm a junior in high school, freaking out. My life's about to be ruined. This is exactly what I'm thinking. I'm not ready for a child. I can't even take care of myself. I live with my parents. I can barely get dressed. And I'm about to have a child in 9 months. Probably the most scared I've been in my life. If not the top three. It was probably one of the most scared times of my life. So I'm like freaking out in class when I found out, and my heart's racing, shaking, like having a panic attack, and it just wasn't good. So later, a little bit down the road, figured out she's not able to have a child. She had some medical issues and just wasn't able to have the child. And so, first thought, I was relieved. Was it the right way to feel? Probably not, but as a teenager, but to have a child, I was relieved. But it broke my heart, of course. it changed my life. Um, but to have this happen to me was like an eye opener. Like, man, it's kind of serious, you know. Like, we weren't even having sex, and it happened. So, so, and that's after this. I thought I'll like learn my lesson and probably not have sex with her. But anyway, so baby wasn't able to be born, and so I still have second thoughts if it was mine or not. But that's a different story, different day. Anyways, I stuck in this relationship. We had sex. I ended up breaking up with her my senior year, beginning my last semester of my senior year of high school. Sorry, and and we I ended up breaking up with her. Somehow, she gets brought back into my life, and we became friends with benefits. Started just hanging out and having sex. I know, you're probably shaking your head. Believe me, I am too. Can't believe I would do that. But anyway, that's where I'm at. Um, start then we're in this friends with benefits thing. I don't know, about a month in. I'm not in a relationship with this girl, so what I did with other people was my business. So I went and started messing around with this other girl, and I knew I wasn't gonna have sex with her, just because did not want that. Um, Plus she was a little young. I was a senior and I believe she was a freshman. Yeah. So wasn't the best overall. Still wasn't the best. But her being that young, still wasn't good. But I knew I wasn't gonna have sex with her, and I didn't. So which is good. But I was like, I'd do anything else. I don't care. I want everything but sex. So that's what happened. Um, but the catch is that that freshman girl was the girl that I'm my ex girlfriend, the girl that I'm having sex with. They were cousins. So sorry. And that my ex girlfriend finds out, pissed off, um, yelling at me and all that stuff, and I felt top dog. When I say top dog, I was like, yeah, what's up? I got caught. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing. No one could stop me from doing that at that time. That's what I felt. Anyway, I promise you, there's God in the story. I know I don't have to get through all the hard and cringy things, but there is redemption, and I can't wait to tell you about it. But there is redemption, and forgiveness. So I'm in a situation. In this meantime, I had a good friend that I went to high school with. He and his mom moved to Vegas. She got a job, so I was like, of course, I was upset and sad, but good for them. Like, I was like, that's awesome. And so they moved to Vegas, Las Vegas, and shortly after they moved, my friend asked me if I wanted to move out there with him, and so I told, I would pray about it, and I talked to my friends and like my church friends about it, and try to, I don't know, and I told them I was going, and they asked me if I prayed about it. I was like, yeah, I prayed about it, and then they asked me, what if God says no? And I said, I'm gonna do it anyway, or something. I don't know exactly what I said, but that was pretty much the gist of it. I was like, I was going. I had my mindset. So, I graduated high school. I was 18, 18, and I turned 19 in July. So, I graduated in June, maybe June, middle of June. I left everything behind, and I flew to Vegas. I've never been on a plane, never been without my parents within like maybe a week or so. I don't know how long I've been, but first time being away from home, and I wanted a new life. I wanted a new start. I wanted all these new things. So I pack up my stuff. Sorry, mom, dad, I love you guys, but I'm gonna do this. Um, my buddy liked to rap too, so that's just something. But he's had CD. He had like pretty sure he had a CD out at this time or two CDs out. So like he had more of a his foot in the door in rap music than I did, and so I went for a better opportunity. It's like Vegas, what a perfect opportunity to go to the city, and I become a rapper. So I thought. So I went to Vegas. Vegas happened. What stays in Vegas? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Not not really. I don't believe that because God worked a lot of things in my life when I was in Vegas. I just didn't know it. So Vegas happens. I'm there for like a month or so, and couldn't find a job, all this stuff. And so when I was in Vegas, I tried to look for a godly girl, someone who loved the Lord. That's just I wanted a new start, so I wanted what I knew was right. So a girl who loved the Lord. That didn't work out. She lied, etc. So I'm looking for a job, a full time job, and they're not doing places in Vegas is hiring full time, which is a good thing for people like me that just you know I don't know how to explain it, but you have to work a certain amount of days to get a full time position, which I understand perfectly. Like I get it. At that time, I didn't understand, but that's what happened. So I had to get a full time job. Couldn't get a full time job, basically. So I finally got hired at Kohl's. This is like one of my last week there in Vegas. I um got the full time job, and I think I was supposed to call them um one day that week after being hired and set up another interview, and so or I could come in and like schedule my first day or something. I don't remember exactly, but anyway, so at this point, I've never had to like trust God for something, because this is the make or break of me staying in Vegas. So this is like basically the last opportunity that I had to stay in Vegas. So before I got on the phone call and made the phone call, I sat down and I was like, Lord, if it's your will for me to be in Vegas, and then let them, sorry, I was gonna ask them one more time if I could have a um full time job. And so I sat down and I prayed and I said, God, if it's your will for me to be in Vegas, let there be a full time position available. And so, and if not, so be it. I know what I need to do. So I sat down and I prayed that, picked up the phone, I called them, and I asked them one more last time. I said, is it any way possible that I can have a full time position? And they said, no, you have to work a certain amount of days before you get this. And I said, okay, sorry, I will not be coming in today. And I hung up. And right then and there, I knew what I needed to do. I was coming home. Very hard decision for me, but it's something that I actually knew that was the Lord. And it was very clear that this is where God had me. So I called up one of my church friends and was like, hey man, I'm coming home. And he's like, okay, awesome. Of course he was excited because all my church family wanted me to be home. Because they knew that Vegas probably wasn't the best place for me. But they prayed for me and they kept in touch and they supported me all the way. Even though they didn't want me there, they still supported me and they wanted what's best for me, what God had for me. And so he said, okay. So a few hours later, he calls back. He's like, hey man, I booked you a plane ticket. And I was like, I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting like, you know, have to get my parents to call my parents and get them to send me the money so I could book a plane ticket, etc. Because I didn't have the money. And I um, got on a plane and I flew back. And so at this time, my life's already been changed. I've experienced the real world, um, and especially like from a small town that I live in to a big city like Vegas, it was like mind opening. And my life just flashed before my eyes of like, man, this is what the real world looks like. Like so, But I came back from Vegas, and something in my spirit was just yearning for God. No idea why or how. I think it was because I tried everything else, and I tried everything else to satisfy me, and God was the last thing that I knew that could actually satisfy me, and it was something that actually I could actually cling to, that would stick. And so I ended up joining um, the campus ministry. I didn't go to college at this time, but I worked at the college. I came back and I had a job pretty much lined up for me at the college, and so I joined the campus ministry. They were so awesome and nice, and they, asked me if I wanted to be a part, and I said I would love to. I don't know what else, because I left all my friends and everything behind me. I didn't have anything else. I left everything, and so I was like, okay, I'll do this. And so I joined the campus ministry, and I fell in love with God. I fell in love with everything that He had for me. I like a rocket, like, but I still had some baggage with me. I smoked hookah at the time, just smoked shisha, um, and so to me it was like, man, I would go on my back porch and smoke hookah and pray and listen to worship music. That's what I did. I didn't know like all these things, and anyway, I but fall in love with God. I finally dropped all these things. Dropped. That's most of the worst thing I was probably doing at this time, but that's what I had. So I left it all behind, and I ran after God. And ever since that day, yeah, life's crazy, and some things have been a struggle. Things have been hard still, but I've had God, and I have just His forgiveness and mercy was like, He's like, Josh, I forgive you. I love you. Here's some grace. And it was the first time very evident. Um, and so, actually, I forgot a little bit of my story. So, when I was in high school, my mom actually got really sick. This is important, I promise. My mom got really sick, and because of the alcohol was just taking over her body, and her body was shutting down on her because all she was consuming was alcohol. And so she ends up getting put in the hospital and on life support, an ICU, a tube. This machine was keeping her alive, and I was devastated this time because, of course, I still love my mom, no doubt. I hated the alcohol, and I hated the decisions that she was making, but I never hated my mom. Even though I may question if I actually love my mom or not, but I knew I loved my mom. And so this is devastating. So one morning before school, mom's in the hospital, it's me and my dad. I'm crying to my dad, asking him, like, what do we do? What do we do if mom dies? Like, this is something that me and my dad's never been without my mom. She's always been there. So I'm like freaking out, crying, And I go back to my room, and I'm like just sobbing. And all of a sudden, I heard something speak to me. And remember, I didn't have a relationship with the Lord really. I knew of God and stuff, but He spoke to me for the very first time ever. And I've always heard that God can speak to me and all these things, and I've never experienced it before. And I was like, cool, God can speak to me. That was it. Like, I didn't know what that looked like. So at this time, God spoke to me very clearly. At the time, I'm not sure I knew, but not much longer after, I figured it out. I was like, man, that was God. And so He spoke to me. He said, Josh, everything's going to be okay. And immediately I felt peace, and I stopped crying, and I went to school. And so I look back and realized it was God, because 2 days, was it 2 days later? I'm pretty sure, I can't remember exactly the dates, but 1 or 2 days later, um, mom gets, sorry, mom gets taken out of the hospital. No, she gets taken out of ICU, and then a day or so later, she gets taken out of the hospital. So right then and there, I knew it was God. I was like, man, thank you, Lord. You know, and so fast forward back, that was the very first time that God ever spoke to me, and I didn't have a relationship with God. So God can speak to you, even when you don't have the faith or you don't have that relationship. God is still willing to speak to you and show you His heart. So I fall in love with God. I'm running God with all my heart, and I'm pretty sure there's more from now until I was like 19 to share. But I just can tell you that God has restored all my broken relationships. He restored um, my relationship with Him. My life has got 110% better. I just had to learn how to trust God, and His love for us is so amazing. It's so imaginable. You can't imagine the peace of God's heart that He has for us. I had experienced it firsthand for me to understand that. But God is so much bigger than what we go through. And even when we have a broken relationship with Him, even when we have a broken relationship at home, He's still willing to walk every step of the way with us. That's His heart. He loves us so much. And it's just incredible and mind blowing to think that God would want that for us, you know. Um, but forgiveness is real. God is real. His love is real. His mercy, His grace, everything's real. Because I've seen it in my life. Not because someone told me, not because my parents told me, because they didn't tell me, because I didn't know. But not because people told me, because I experienced it firsthand and I had to trust in God. And I just want to encourage you that there is hope and there is life and there is more than what you're going through. God is real, but are you willing to trust Him? No matter what age you are, and no matter what you've gone through, even if you've had the Christian life, the perfect Christian life, God can still use you and still speak to you and show you cool things. I'll share a verse with you. I'm going to share two verses with you. The first one is Jeremiah 30. Is it 33:3? I think so. Yep, 33:3. NIV version, I guess. It says, "This is what the Lord says." Sorry, actually, 33, chapter 33, verse 2 and 3. It says, "This is what the Lord says. He who made the earth, the Lord who formed it and established it, and Lord is His name. Call to me, and I will answer you, and I will tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know." I just called Him Lord and trusted Him, and He showed me unsearchable things, the things I did not know, and He still does it today. Well, the other verse I want to share with you is my favorite verse. It's my life verse. That's what I call it, because it's since I was I in high school? I don't know, but this verse always stuck out to me, and it changed my life. It's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Most people know it, but this verse has just changed my life, and it's still changed my life today, and it's became very relevant in my life today. Just the things that I've been going through and just asking the Lord for. And it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." If you trust God, even when you don't understand something, He will make your path straight. That's what He does. That's who He is. That's His heart for you. So don't give up on this fight. Let God fight your battles for you. And if just don't give up. God has more than what you can see and what you know. So trust God. And I hope that my story encourages you, at least one person. It's encourages you to not give up and to keep going, because God is good and He's faithful and He won't give up on you, even when you give up on Him. But have a blessed day, guys.